morning, good evening, good night, wherever or whoever you may be. I am Alan Arante, and this is the Recluse Podcast. Today's guest is Josh Stamps. He is the guitarist in the punk band Fist Fight on Ecstasy, and he runs the DIY label Eat Hard Records. He got into punk when he was about 12 years old, and to this day he rocks a dyed Byhawk and studded attire. When I asked him about his choices in appearance, he candidly said, "It makes me feel good. The cold studs feel good on my skin." Had I never heard of Josh Stamps, I'm sure I would still find him interesting. But my interest dates back to when I was about 14 or 15 years old. I was getting into punk, and I started going to shows in the Valley with my friends. It was a period in my life where I started to really mold my social life. During that time, Josh played bass in a band called The Last Priority. They were so goddamn cool to us back then. Those guys and a few other bands were like punk gods in the flesh. As for the content of this interview, I'll let you find that out on your own. So without further delay, this is a portrait of Josh Stamps. All right, let me paint a picture for you. It's the early 2000s on a summer night in the Valley. Everyone's hanging outside behind the Cobalt. People are walking through the alley to 7-Eleven and pick up some beer. The lineup for this show is The Assault, Dysfunctional Chaos, Homesick Abortions, and headlining is The Last Priority. Can you... that was fictional, of course, but can you take me back to that time period when things like that happened? What was that like for you? What do you remember?
I just remember it was a shit ton of fun. That was when everybody was like really, really die hard into it. Always the same crowd. I always see the same faces every time you played a show there. It was, without skipping a beat. Yeah, those are some good times, especially the alleyway on the way to get beer at the 7-Eleven. Cops would always roll through there and bust all the kids and shit like that. Fights will always spill out in the streets if there ever happened.
Yeah, go ahead.
I remember going to this it's like a lounge bar. It's like next door to the Scotland Yard. Mm-hmm. And I was underage at the time. I think I was about like 19 or 20. And I've always looked like old enough to go into bars. So I come in with like a mohawk, like straight up, and it was like a scene out of a movie. People would like turn their heads, like, and hear the record player skip, But they allowed me to purchase alcohol there. So
wow,
that was my little spot. Yeah.
I think the first place I ever bought alcohol illegally was the 7-Eleven. Surprisingly, probably because they knew better than that. But I'm pretty sure I was able to buy some alcohol at that 7-Eleven by the Cobalt. I remember for me, I was about maybe 15 or 14. So in the early 2000s, you were, 19, 20, 21, 22, something like that?
I'm 37 now, so I was 20s for sure. Because I remember I joined The Last Priority in 2001, and I was about 20 years old. Yeah.
And you played bass in that band, right?
I did.
Yeah, I guess the guitar player is maybe who I'm thinking of now. Or actually, what was your guitar player's name?
Ryan Kretzer.
Is he still around?
He actually moved to Ohio recently, but during Last Priority days, he had like side projects like Los Reteros. Global Crime Syndicate. That was another one. It's with Andrew Hester. He's in 3-Day Holocaust right now with Rat Boy and all these other cats.
Oh, yeah. Is Joaquin in 3-Day Holocaust? Or maybe that's Civil Conflict.
Oh, no. No. Joaquin was in Fleischwater. I don't know if we're thinking about the right Joaquin. There's a couple of them.
Yeah, he's a shorter guy.
Oh, he's in. I know who you're talking about. He's in Hiding Inside Victims, HIV.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's Rat Boy's other band.
I can't remember the name now, but I remember the days I'm thinking of. All those guys that you mentioned would be at the Cobalt and like that, whatever, even Ventura shows. And it's so funny to like run into them now because I'm in Ventura. I'll see some of them now, and just so much history since from then till now.
Absolutely.
I was wondering, back in those days, maybe even now, but I'm thinking of back in those days. Was there ever beef between individuals or bands, or was it a harmonious sort of scene?
There always was, there always will be, but I mean, like, now that we're older, some of those beefs got squashed for sure, and it's like super long gone. But like like the Last Priority kids, we all had like the Wild West crew, the Yellow Lace Squad. We always wore like a fucking yellow lace in our left boot or some shit, and and then we kind of like, I wouldn't say like bumped heads or anything. Like nothing really went out of it, but it was like the CB Valley kids, like Rat Boy and all those other guys. They're in the AYC, Angry Youth Crew, or whatever it was.
Yeah, that's right.
But I mean, it was all like just silly shit, like we would just talk shit on the internet and nothing would ever come out of it.
Yeah, that's funny because my crew, quote unquote, we were probably let's see, I say this, we were punks from Thousand Oaks, so you can imagine the shit we got from probably everybody.
Yeah.
But so the AYC cats, I remember we just like talk trash on the internet or something, and it exploded into this, like, it looked like Braveheart or something behind the Cobalt. Like it was like their whole crew, my crew, and nothing went down. But like the security guards there were such douchebags. They were like riling us up, like trying to get us to fight. These big. I
totally knew who you're talking about. Yeah, like
crush us.
Totally. Yeah, those guys were dicks. I totally remember those guys very, very clearly. Like, I remember like loading our gear into the back, like, hey, we're Last Priority. We're like, yeah, whatever, just get your ass inside. We're like, oh, what the fuck, I feel welcomed.
Yeah, those guys were willing. I suspect even after all these years that they one of them literally I was talking to one of the guys from AYC just trying to squash it, and one of those big bouncer dudes shoves me into him. It's like literally trying to get this Braveheart situation started. It's like, dude, you're like, we were kids. Like, what are these adults doing?
If I remember clearly, sorry to interrupt. If I remember clearly, I think it was like the poor kids that were like kind of running that venue. Poor Kids on LSD. Those guys. I mean, those guys are most of those guys are good friends of mine. I know them all. Like Adam Bomb, and there's fucking Jerry's cousin Isaac. A bunch of motherfuckers. But those guys are like
closed down now, isn't it?
Oh, it's been closed down. I remember one time, like, it was pretty fucking cool. I was 21 at this time, and like there was a weed dispensary right next door to the Cobalt, and then we would go to the Scotland Yard next door. So we'll get our weed, go watch a band, come out, smoke a bowl, then go to the fucking bar, slam some beers, come back out, go to the 7-Eleven, hang out in the fucking alleyway where the cops always go. That was like a routine every weekend for like years.
But you were from Oxnard, right? So would you be commuting out there?
Yeah. I was also dating someone at the time from the Valley, so I was already out there a lot and stuff like that.
How do you contrast the scene back then to what it is now, if there is even a scene now?
There most definitely is. I think the scene now is way more mature, and like we all got our shit together, just from doing all the failing a lot, kind of like taught us lessons like to do, not what to do,
Yeah.
As far as like, playing music and getting shows and being a collective, collaborative, like, bunch of group of people. Back then we were kids. All we wanted to do was get fucking stoned and lit and drunk and not give a fuck, like things are a lot different now.
Yeah. I've been to a couple punk shows out here in Ventura. I went to one at Concrete Brewing. I wish I could remember what show it was. It wasn't too long ago.
Concrete Jungle.
Yeah, it was a show a few months ago. I think it was like a hardcore Oxnard band played that they ripped too. I wish I could remember who they were. But I'm wondering though, the scene, is it just the same people but older, or are you starting to see new faces every couple of years, younger kids, 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds?
Oh man,
That
it's
kind of thing.
the cool thing about Oxnard. It's like the age range is like fucking endless, dude. I do see new faces, and I do see all these other new bands I've never heard of before fucking popping out of the woodwork, you know? And these kids
Yeah.
are fucking killing it. Like, as far as keeping shit alive and having shows constantly all the fucking time, they're destroying it. Same thing with, like, I throw shows at Concrete Jungle Brewing Company, too, from time to time. And
Hmm.
it's just hard for me because I live in LA now, so I have to commute all the way out there to, like, throw an event or something, which I absolutely love. I'd rather do it out there than out here anyway. I
Yeah,
just know more
yeah,
people out there. I'm from there. That's just where my roots are, and I'll do whatever it takes to keep that shit on fire. You know?
yeah. It takes a lot. I've noticed. I think I've been following you on Instagram for a little while now, just to notice like that you don't live nearby exactly, but it kind of seemed like you were out here a lot.
Yeah. So whenever I can, if there's like a cool show happening, or if it's a show that I'm throwing, or something that I'm involved with, which is about 90% of like what I do, is always out in Ventura County. You know?
Yeah. Do you have anything popping out there in LA?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, the scene out here is it's big. It's gigantic. You know, like, so it's kind of hard to like throw a happening show that's like going to be like on top of all these other million shows happening at the same damn time, you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's what's cool about Ventura, because like I can throw a show at Concrete Jungle. My shows always end at 10 o'clock, and usually after that, there's like bar shows barely starting, you know?
Right,
So
right.
it's
Yeah.
easy to fucking go to a banging show till 10, go over to the next show at the bar, and then hang out with your friends until like 1 or 2. And there's usually after parties after that, which makes it a lot more fun.
Yeah, yeah, I've noticed that with the Concrete Jungle. I'm like, wow, like they close at 10 and I'm standing there. I've been to a couple shows there where it's approaching 10, or events even. And it's like, dude, this is popping. Why are they going to close it now? Probably just like the regulations and what they are, which I understand. But that's cool that the music scene can stretch a night like that. I've noticed that some of the art events out here, there are so many art, like pencil paper sort of artists, that
Totally.
it's hard to have an event because there's always 10 other art events that night out here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, maybe it's not a
So
bad thing though. Um,
no, I mean that's actually a beautiful thing. Like the cool thing about Ventura County, it is. I wouldn't say it's an underrated place, because I mean so much fucking talent comes out of it. You know,
yeah.
including artists or like whatever you can think of. You can fucking read a book to children. There's a fucking something going on like that. Um,
Yeah, I love it out
but
here.
but that's the beauty of it. Like there's always something to do. But I don't want to jinx it right away. But I mean, because sometimes it comes in waves. It can be dead for
Right.
a minute, then all of a sudden, just a wave of awesome shit comes in, then it dies out again. But lately, it's been just on fire, constant, steady. Except for now, obviously, because the whole
Yeah.
fucking COVID-19 thing going on. But that's understandable. But everyone's just aching for some live music or some sort of like
Oh,
events
I
to go
know.
on. Yeah.
I know it's torture. It I hope though after this that the city's just on fire with stuff. People just having new
Oh, it will be.
albums, new this,
Yeah,
new
yeah.
that. So I'm excited for that. So let me ask you. You probably know a little bit more about this than I do, because frankly, when I was like into punk with like Liberty Spikes and stuff, I'm a little more average now. I was younger, so I don't know about the heart of Nardcore. Can you tell me something about Nardcore?
Yeah. It's just the Ventura County punk rock scene. You know, I look at it as more of a family than just a scene, because I've known these people since I was a child. You know, and like I get invited to their houses and hang out. Although I'm talking about all the older cats that like kind of created the whole Nardcore thing.
Yeah, like who
But
would they be? Not name wise, but like band wise. Who would you say?
oh, like just a fucking big four, dude. Like the Ill Repute, Doctor No, Solid 13. Those guys, like they created the whole path for us youngsters to follow.
Wow.
And God bless them for that, because it's going strong. more than ever before that I've seen in my entire lifetime.
Like, how old are those guys now? Are they like approaching 50? Like, are they just in their 40s?
Oh no, they're definitely 50, 60, probably at the oldest. Maybe
Damn,
older. Who knows? I don't know.
and they were doing punk what in the 90s and the 80s around here even?
In the 80s. The very first, I wouldn't say they're nardcore, but like they're definitely a punk rock band. Was the Rotters. They started in 1977, so it dates back to back then. You know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that's insane. I didn't know that. I thought maybe because again, I don't know too much. I wasn't like raised around it. I'm pretty much from Thousand Oaks, born in Ventura, spent a couple years in Oxnard, but really a Thousand Oaks kid.
That's close enough. It's just right over the hill, man.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool coming down to Ventura to see this stuff. But Nardcore, it's like, yeah, it's still huge. I still see people with like patches or like painted on their leather jackets and shit. It's still alive.
Man. It's definitely a hometown pride thing or like a Ventura County pride thing because we all it's just rich of history, punk rock history at that.
How would you describe the difference between Nardcore, if there's a difference between Nardcore and like other forms of punk? Yeah, I know there's a lot of different kinds of punk, but just does Nardcore have any unique features to it that other punk doesn't?
It does. The unique features is that like it comes in all shapes, sizes, and forms, and different genres of punk. There's hardcore. I've seen some street punk, nardcore shit. Political shit, it comes in all shapes and forms.
Yeah, it's really cool. It makes me miss places like you ever play the Loft when that was around?
Yeah, man, I used to play that place a lot. The upstairs room over at the Skate Street off of Goodyear Avenue, I believe it is in Ventura.
Yeah, I went to, I think it was a Havoc show. I think like Lower Class Brats played, Virus played with Jasper, I think. And it was like one of the most badass places and times ever.
Was it the infamous Riot? Was that the Riot night? Because Last Party played with the Virus. Last Party played with the Virus one night at the Loft, and then shit popped off.
What?
We ended up getting a fight with, I think it was Clip 45 and some other guys.
Oh, dude, yeah, that sounds very familiar. Holy shit. Yeah, what happened that night? I think I was there that night.
Oh man, it's kind of a fucked up story. Like,
are there bad guys involved? You guys.
It was just like.
Wait. Or let me just say real quick,
sure.
Does it have anything to do with the fact that the singer from Clip 45, weren't there rumors about him?
Not at all. No, this happened to be about like my drummer Jerry from Last Priority and my ex-girlfriend fucking Becky. Like this happened at the Cobalt. Like my ex-girlfriend was hanging out outside and like, the guys from Clip 45 or whoever they're with, I wouldn't like pinpoint them out specifically, but they're kind of like getting my ex to like go in their car and fucking do shady shit with them, and the word got back to me, so like we kind of like started a beef with these guys, and we finally got to play a show with them, and then we were on stage. We were on stage and we were just talking shit. We pretty much called them out while we're on stage, and like next thing you know, there's a fucking like chair flying like in the air and it hits like the merch guy in the head, and then next thing you know, everyone's just swinging fists, dude, and like it all trickled on down to the street and shit. It was pretty wild.
Holy shit. Dude, can you see that vividly? Like, can you like close your eyes and just take yourself back to that night?
Yeah, absolutely, man. It was one of the coolest like nights I've ever had.
Did you walk away unscathed?
Yeah. Well, here's a specific moment. Like, it was Clip 45's merch guy. I forgot his name, but he was total douchebag. But he was actually the guy that got punched in the face on YouTube by a bunch of Star Wars nerds.
Dude, no! Oh,
it was that guy.
That video.
I don't know if you've ever seen that. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen that, but it's great. It was that guy. So he was like talking shit, and then my friend Chepe, he was a singer for Los Rateros, big tall motherfucker. This guy is gigantic. We both knuckle sandwich to get this guy in the face, like like one fist on each side of the cheek. And I just remember his eyes just like rolling the back of his head, just like boink, he falls to the floor and shit.
And you didn't feel bad at all.
No, not one bit, dude. Like, I was actually trying to be cool. I was kind of like just chilling on the side and let my friends run their mouths, just waiting for someone to pop off. But this guy looked directly at me and just started talking shit, and I was like, I'm not gonna let this guy get away with it, dude.
No kidding. Holy shit. So does that mean to some extent, there's this stereotype about punks that they like to fight. And I didn't get in any fights, but it's like a stereotype. Is there something to that in general, do you think?
I think that's like a normie stereotype. Like, oh, the guy looks rough and tough. He must be an asshole or like a drug addict.
Yeah.
They like to fight and kick cans over the place. No, it's far from the truth. Like, I'm such a pacifist. I'm a very, very nice guy if you meet me in person.
It's hard to get you to want you to fight me,
Like
pretty much.
you'd really have to really, really piss me off. Either say something about like my wife or my mom or something. But like, you can call me fat or like stupid, like that. That shit just bounces right off me. I'm like, yeah, whatever, buddy.
Yeah. What about like a drunk person? Like, can you tolerate like a dumbass, like drunk guy? Just kind of, you could tell he's drunk and he's not in control of his facilities.
I totally can, because I work at a brewery and I like deal with these guys all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm very patient in that kind of stuff and that aspect.
In your relationship, obviously you don't have to give me details, but are you more calm in your relationship, or is she your wife?
Yeah, well, yeah. I've been with my wife Carrie I've been with her for 9 years. We've been married for 2. It'll be 3 years in October.
No kidding. You're a couple years ahead of me. I've been with my wife, I think, what is it, 8, a little over 8, but been married for a year and a half. So similar.
Cool,
similar
man.
To what you got.
No.
Do you think you're more calm than your wife, or is she more calm than you?
Oh man. No, we're both calm, but we're both kind of hard headed too. So,
all right.
But for the most part, we're very calm. We love to be around each other. That's fun.
Yeah, it's sort of it's kind of cool. You post a lot of stuff with you and her, like stuff you're doing. It's cool. You guys are all punked out and shit. It's cool to see.
Yeah, man. We like to travel. Fucking. We're actually going camping on Monday. It's a place that we've been to before, just to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, where is it? Like what area?
Past Bishop. It's called Bridgeport.
Dude, it's so I haven't camped out there, but just driving through Bishop and like all the areas, it's so awesome.
I've been through Bishop and actually been on the 395 coming from Reno, Nevada, the last Fist Fight on Ecstasy tour that we did. But I was driving at like 2 a.m, so it was pitch fucking black. I wasn't able to see anything. So
yeah, there's some cool hiking spots. You said your band Fist Fight on Ecstasy. Is there an origin story to that name? Because it's such a provocative name, Fist Fight on Ecstasy.
Yeah, just use your imagination.
So somebody somewhere has done that, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I plead the fifth on that.
I've seen you guys play at least once. The last time I saw you play was a Hong Kong Inn, and I think you were one of you guys handed me a record. You guys give out merch and stuff during your shows. I happened to be the person that got a record. Your buddy and your singer, is his name Ed Mole?
That's him. Yep.
What can you say about his performance and his stage persona? It's very, again, I like to use the word, it's provocative, it's interesting. What do you have to say about it?
He wouldn't be in my band if he didn't have that persona. Ever since I've known the guy, even way before the band like even formed, like he's always been that way. Like the first time we met him was at the Knitting Factory in Hollywood. We played a show with this was last Priority Days. Like I was actually 21 that day. Now it's all coming back. I turned 21 that day. I see this big ass guy with like a bondage strap on. I walked up to the guy. I was like, "Hey man, like that's pretty dope," and I think that's punk as fuck, And let's be friends, kind of thing. And then we've been friends ever since. And but he was never in a band. Well, he was, but just for like a month or two, and just kind of crumbled. But I think they're called Ladies First or some shit. But me and LJ and Federico, we like started Fist Fight just kind of playing musical chairs. I was playing drums and he was on guitar. We're kind of like trying to see where we fit and what instrument we're trying to play with each other. So I hopped on the guitar, and this is my first time I ever played guitar in a band. Because I was primarily like a bass player, from
that's what I thought. That's what I remembered.
I also played bass in Shattered Badge as well. After I quit Last Priority, we were in a band for a couple years, released a record. Yeah, but
damn, no shit.
Yeah, a lot of projects.
Yeah, well, not your, but I was gonna say, Ed. It's interesting because the show starts where he's fully clothed, right?
Yeah.
And it's so awesome. You blink an eye and you miss it. And then by the end, he's like, in this, like, I don't know what you would call it, like kinky stuff. I mean, it's interesting.
Yeah, he would normally wear like some sort of thong with like handcuffs dangling from his crotch area or something like that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think it's a cool mix. In terms of,
I actually have.
Or go ahead.
I actually have a pretty funny story about that.
Yeah,
one time we played this place in Whittier. It was some bar, some really shitty divey bar, and like we go on stage and like we were doing our thing. And Ed gets like he has like a wardrobe malfunction because he had these like pants where like he can like rip them off into like a stripper and shit.
Yeah.
But apparently everything came off, including his fucking underwear. So his like dick and balls were hanging out. And
wait,
I can see
a live show.
This is a live show, and like, and I remember like the owner of the bar was like just like furious, looking at me like fucking face is turning red, and he's like pulling all the plugs, like trying to like unplug the amplifiers, but we just kept on playing. And like he was pulling the wrong ones. He was pulling like the lights and shit, or like the arcade machines or something. And like he was just like on his knees. Like,
so Ed just kept going, is what you're telling me. You guys just kept going.
Yeah, we just kept playing, and this guy was freaking out, like yelling at us, like, "Make it stop! You guys got to stop! You're banned! You're out of here!" We're like, "Yeah, whatever, man." Just kept playing.
Do you guys, before, you guys are pretty active. It seems like, you have shows going on and stuff all the time. Do you sort of, call the bar ahead of time, call the venue ahead of time? Like, hey, we do this part of our act where we, somebody strips, or you just like do it?
Not at all, man. We just do it. We just go for it, And about 95% of the time, it's always good feedback. There's only been a couple times where like we did it and people were like, "Oh, great," But
like the crowd or people who own the place?
Mostly the people that own the place. They're kind of just like giving us a stink eye or whatever. But hey, man, it's our art. Can't fucking censor our art, dude.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome. I can't wait to check it out again. I was looking through some of your old posts. I went back, I don't know, maybe a year or two from Instagram, just because, we don't really know each other.
Right.
And so one thing I saw was there seemed to be some issue in terms of Fist Fight on Ecstasy with Mystic Records, right? Was there some like misunderstanding, disappointment that happened with that record label with you guys?
All the above, dude. That actually caused a lot of backlash too, like after the fact. With
for
like
you
my
guys
peers.
Or for them?
Well, for both of us, really. Like, because I don't know if you heard all the stories. All the old Nerdcore bands used to be on Mystic.
I haven't heard anything. It sounded like it was not a long story. It sounded like a story with a lot of moving parts in it. I hadn't heard any of that before.
Well, here's a story with us and Mystic. Like, I'm a huge Mystic record collector. I love the records they put out back in the day. So many great bands were on that label, I still collect the records to this day. But I've always wanted one of my bands just to have that cute little Mystic Records logo skull on the bottom right corner of like my CD or my record. And like, I think it was David Levine from Hyman Blasters in Ventura, kind of his band got signed to Mystic, and he kind of like threw our name in the hat. And they got a hold of me, and they're like, "Yeah, send us some material. Let's see what we can do." And I did. So we like signed a deal for them to re-release our CD, Blood, Sweat, and Beers, under the Mystic label. And then they give us like another opportunity to like write a new EP, 7-inch record, and show them the music and lyrics, etc. And there's this one song that we wrote called "Stab a Klansman," and it's one of my favorite songs too. and they like didn't really like the title of it. They said like it goes against the ACLU, which is America's Civil Liberties Union. They didn't want to get sued by the KKK or some shit. They're kind of like sketched out about it. So they said, I know it was ridiculous. And so they said either I'd change the song title or rewrite the lyrics to make it seem like it's not pointed at them. And of course we're like, no. Yeah, like no, fuck
no
you. Like,
kidding.
You're gonna put this shit out. And so they didn't like that too much. We were being defiant about it. They dropped us from their label after 1 month of being on it.
Wow.
And then which again comes back to some backlash from like my older peers. Like they were pretty upset about us signing to them because they're, you know, the damage is done. What happened happened. I apologize. You know.
Yeah.
I was just trying to get my record out there. You know, that's just plain and simple. And
yeah, they had that label, they had screwed over a couple of other bands, right? Like what? Or I guess you don't have to say what bands, but were they local bands, popular bands around here?
Oh, absolutely, man. Ill Repeat was one of them. Like the Grim, there's other bands, Aggression. Those bands don't get any royalties or kickbacks from the records that they sell, which they sell shit tons of them, you know. But they kind of like schmooze them when they're kids, because like, you know, when you're kids, you don't really know any better. You're like, oh, I'm gonna get a record contract. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
So apparently, like in the fine print, pretty much said they're not gonna get paid, basically, you know.
And so some of these, go ahead.
Yeah, no, most of these bands want their music back so they can like re-release it and make their own money on it, you know. But they signed a contract; they can't get their material back, which is very unfortunate.
And so some of those guys, they were saying, you know, hey, like Josh, what are you doing? You know, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, exactly. And I feel really stupid about that move, you know. But cool thing about it, like our records came out. I started my own label, Etard Records. We pressed that 7-inch literally like months after they kicked us off the label, and on the back of the 7-inch, we have the Mystic logo skull but crossed out. just kind of like a fuck you to them, you know.
No way.
Yeah.
So was Etard record? Is it Etard or Etard's record?
Etard, just one D. Yeah.
So was Etard sort of born out of this, you know, shitty situation, or had you already been thinking about it?
The name Etard was already like in my head for the longest time, but I thought this was a perfect opportunity to get up and start my own DIY label.
Yeah.
And bam, and then we started releasing records. We released 2 records on this label. I do want to release some other bands' materials, but I'm trying to like build my, you know, thing up in order to get to that point to start doing that.
Yeah. Like you'd have local bands, you know, like the guys you mentioned before, like bands like that, or just even international stuff.
Mostly local. Like my heart belongs in the local scene. You know, I want to help these kids out that are really focused on playing and going out and doing the damn thing. You know.
Yeah, I saw too that you this Better Be Good shit EP. You guys did a release show in Vegas with the Vibrators, right?
We did.
Is that not just a dream come true? I mean, does it get any better than that?
It was cool. I had a good time. It was a decent crowd. It wasn't like freaking packed or anything like that. But I was kind of upset that I only got paid $50 and I let the headlining band use all my gear.
Oh. The Vibrators, were they headlining?
Yeah, they headlined.
And of course, like, we go out to...
we were like right under them. Sorry, we were like right under them. And of course, like off stage, like I have my amplifier like unplugged and like wrapped up and ready to go. And of course, they're like, "Hey, man, do you mind if we use your shit?" I was like, "God damn it!" That if it's one thing that really irritates me, it's that shit.
The lending in the first place, or you know, when you're already packed up and you're ready to take it out to the car, like that, or that.
I wouldn't have been so upset if like my shit wasn't already packed up. You know, if it was already on stage, I'm like, yeah, man, go ahead, it's already up here. But I already had that shit on the floor, like pushing that shit outside. You know.
Yeah. So the Vibrators didn't have equipment, or what?
No, not at all, man. Not one of
They
these. Our
just like
drum set, our bass cab, our fucking guitar cabs, all that shit.
Jesus Christ. I mean, but more or less though, was that like a peak or a very high point for you? I mean, I mean, can you name something bigger than that?
It was very honorable. Yeah, it was cool. The Vibrators is a legendary band. Who doesn't like them?
Yeah,
But I mean,
yeah, a
like,
lot of
but I mean, like, traveling to Vegas for $50 doesn't sound so pleasing, though.
yeah. I mean, shit. You know, your band, the band you're in now, Last Priority, maybe bands that you were in before that I don't know about. You guys played with a lot of big players, didn't you? I mean, there's a lot of big bands you guys played with.
Oh, shit tons, man. Like,
I mean,
we
dude.
toured so much when I was in that band. We were really like focused and what do you call it? Like charged up and ready to fucking take on the world.
Yeah, yeah. How many tours would you guess that you went on with Last Priority?
I'm guessing 6. A lot of West Coast. We did a full Texas tour. We did a after we got signed to Burning Tree Records, we released the America's Hijack CD, and then we did a whole United States tour and Canada. But things in Canada didn't really work out that great.
Holy shit! What's the longest tour you've done? If you could, frame it in weeks, or I guess weeks at least.
That'll be the Last Priority America's Hijack tour. We did the whole United States. That was like, well, the outline of the United States. I think it was about like 40 days or some shit like that.
Wow, how many
And
states?
fuck, on the top of my head, I want to say maybe like 20 or something. I don't know.
Jesus Christ, that had to be fucking a blast.
It was a lot of fun, but that was actually like after that tour, I quit the band because being on the road with with a bunch of with a bunch of punks that like in a van, peak of summer, hot as balls. Like we definitely knew what buttons to push to get on each other's nerves. Me and Brady, the singer, we're really good. We're like best friends still. I have no ill hatred or intention towards my friends in the band, but we always get in fist fights. Like almost every tour, we would always get in a fucking fist fight.
Literally, you mean literally a fist fight where you fight?
Yes, throwing blows. One of the most embarrassing ones though, I would have to say was like we did a West Coast tour. We did a split 7-inch with the Clusterfucks from Denver, Colorado. Really fucking cool band.
Wow.
Love those guys. And we did a West Coast tour with these guys, and we're up in Washington. This place called the Funhouse. It's like some like circus theme fucking venue and shit, Seattle, Washington. And Brady gets blacked out drunk, like drinking Jägermeister, like it was water, And when he gets drunk, he like runs his mouth and talks a lot of shit. And so we were outside packing, like we're like smoking cigarettes with the Clusterfucks and shit. We're just hanging out, shooting the shit. Next thing you know, like me and Brady are getting a fist fight, and he takes the fucking van and like ditches us and like throws me and my guitar player's gear in the street and just leaves us.
Oh my god!
And we were supposed to play like Idaho Falls. Yeah, it was a nightmare. Like we're supposed to play Idaho Falls with the Clusterfucks the next night. Then after that was Vegas. So it was raining too, mind you. It was raining, and so me and my guitar player like, what are we gonna do? So like he like whips out. I don't know if he had like a credit card somehow. I don't know where it came from, but like we were able to purchase like Greyhound tickets to go back to California. So like at first they weren't going to let us at first they weren't going to let us on the bus because we had like band equipment. They don't want to be like liable for that kind of shit. So we figured out a loophole to get it on the bus. We like threw it in the box and taped it up and just told them it was like fucking closed or some shit. So they let us on the bus. That was the most interesting bus ride back home. I'll tell you, dude. There was like prostitutes in the back seat and shit. It was fucking crazy.
Oh, because they were going to. Oh wait, no. Yeah, why would they be going back to California? Is that where you were headed?
Well, they got dropped off in Sacramento.
Dude, no kidding. I can't. And, I'm amazed. What happened to Brady? I mean, he just left.
So
where'd he go?
Yeah, he left. But well, check this out. The story's not done. Like, so me and Brian, and it was my roadie. Like, I think it was Alan Fetus. I forget. But like, we go to the Greyhound in Los Angeles. We get dropped off in downtown. You know, we're like about ready to go home. Like, fuck this, we're tired. We're on this bus for 3 days with a bunch of crackheads and shit. And we walk out, and there's Brady in the parking lot with the fucking van.
Oh my! What the hell?
And he was like, "Hey guys, I'm sorry. Do you want to finish the tour and go to Vegas right now?" We all looked at each other. We're like, "Fuck yeah, let's go."
Oh, you didn't wait. So did you miss one show?
We missed just one show. It was Idaho Falls show, and we didn't even tell the clusterfucks we're going to go to Vegas. We just showed up, and they're like, "What the hell happened?" It was like this elaborate story. You know, it was hilarious.
Oh my god! I mean is that like back then? Was that sort of just like a Brady thing to do? Like he had done stuff like that before?
It was a little bit of all of us. I mean, like I said, we all knew each other's buttons push, and he mostly got in fights with my guitar player Ryan, like because Ryan was just kind of, I mean, he never fought back. You know, he was kind of an easy target.
Yeah, so Brady would kind of pick on him or bully him, or Ryan would, fight back, defend himself.
Well, Ryan was definitely like a sarcastic asshole. He would, he had a mouth on him, but
yeah,
love the guy, fucking love him to death. But him and Brady didn't really get along too much. We all lived with each other too. That was another thing. We all lived with each other. We were in a band together. We traveled together. We just did everything together. And eventually we're just like, fuck you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy. So, was there ever a time where you thought like shit, this is the band, this is what's going to get me somewhere? Because that, the band was so awesome and you guys toured and, got picked up by a label. Did you ever think that this band might be like the big break, this is going to get us somewhere?
I totally thought that, man. I really did. I was like, our momentum was like so good. Like we're pumping out records, touring, doing all this kind of shit, like especially at the young age that we were at. It blew me away. And I was actually hoping for that kind of a big break because I was like working like paycheck to paycheck, and I was like, man, I need some sort of kickback or kick down or some sort of, where I can live comfortably and play music at the same time. But I guess that's just hopeful wishing, hopeful thinking.
Yeah, and the age you were at too. Like I was in a band at that time, and that probably was the most focused I ever was. It's the most directed, or I don't know. It was just different, being that young and just trying your best, and the other guys are too. So yeah, I can imagine that. I was thinking, and I was wondering if you still have this song by The Last Priority. I'm an Alcoholic, I think it's called.
Yep, Alcoholic.
Dude, that's like in the top 10, to me, that's like the top 10 punk songs that I ever heard at that age. And like now even, I loved that song.
That's so funny. That was before I was in the band. That was when the band first formed. That was our first EP. I think the lineup was Nick Salucci, Danny Finley, Ryan, and Brady. They released that EP. Then, like after that, I joined the band, and then our music kind of shifted more towards hardcore, political punk rock. It definitely made a U-turn. But so that's funny. That's like that's everyone's favorite song in the band. It's the most shittiest song we ever wrote in our lives.
Oh, do people tell you that like they love that song? Because I did, and I
all the time. That? I do. I went to Brady's house. I think it was like a year ago, and me and my wife went there just to stop by and say hi. he stopped smoking weed. He gave me this like huge garbage bag of fucking weed, and like gave me all this old like Last Priority memorabilia, like a bunch of VHS tapes of our live shows, a few of our master CDs that we recorded, and a couple No Regrets EPs, which is the CD you're talking about with Alcoholic.
Yeah.
I was thrilled to have that because I don't have one of those in my possession. Now I do.
You have like a digital form, like on a computer somewhere, or?
Well, I have the actual physical form of the CD that was released with the cover and everything like that.
Wow. Sometime I'll have to get that. I sometime in my life I need to hear that song again. I don't know if you can get
it. Someone I gave it to somebody, and they uploaded it on YouTube. It actually has all the tracks, the bonus tracks that you don't hear on the actual EP. like I hate pro-life. That's one of.
Jesus.
There's another one. It's fuck. Labeled Youth. That's a good one. It's about like being in the mental hospital and shit.
I'm gonna have to look that up. I've been like thinking of that song for the last 10 years. I haven't heard that in forever.
It's kind of funny you brought that up because I was listening to another podcast and someone said like the best like top 10 local punk bands in like the 2000s, and someone brought up that Last Priority and that song. I'm like, man, like there's so much way better songs than that shit that he could have said,
I think for me, like, yeah, maybe there is, but for me, like when I think of that song and that band and the show or two that I saw you guys, like that was just so that was so important to me at that time. I was like 14, 15, starting to push out of my comfort zone, change my personality and fashion, just kind of being in a different scene. I was different before.
Cool.
So I think so personally for me, it's just that was one of the first and like best songs I had heard like in that like special time period. And maybe other people feel like that too, if they're my age.
Totally. Absolutely.
So let me shift gears a little bit. I'm kind of interested in your perspective on just punk in general. So I once heard someone say, if you aren't punk anymore, you never were punk.
Never were. Yeah. And that's a very true statement.
About
that? Punk rock's all about how you look at life, and it has nothing to do with physical image or anything like that. Although it looks cool and it's kind of a nice added bonus to it, but it's what's in your head. It's how you approach things.
Yeah, and what are some ways? So like when you say it's how you approach stuff, like what are some of those approaches to like whatever it is, politics, other people, lifestyle, like what is it?
It's all that, man. It's what's around you. I believe you should question everything, question authority. Don't take shit from nobody, and don't let the man fucking stomp you down.
Do you think that, I mean, obviously the fashion is very like specialized, I know that there are different branches of punk and they each have their own little style and the way they look.
Right.
But do you think that it's possible, to be a punk at heart or, whatever it is, these approaches to life and authority, is it still possible to be that even though you don't have the studded jacket and mohawk?
Oh, dude, absolutely. That's where my point comes from. It's all in your head. It's not about the physical image or what you look like. To me, I do because it makes me feel. I like it. It makes me feel good about myself. And I just I love the smell of leather. I like cold studs touching my skin. And I like wild hair.
Yeah, and it seems like it started pretty young for you. I thought I saw you post something when you were 16 years old in this photo, and it looked like you had like a GBH shirt, like a leather jacket, a mohawk.
Oh yeah,
so you had the fashion pretty young.
I did. I got into it when I was 12 years old. So very young. Like I think I was in like 7th grade when I really got into it.
And the good shit too. It wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't. Well, to be honest, I mean, I started listening to Green Day and like Weezer. I mean, I love Weezer to this day.
Yeah,
they're one of my favorite bands. But those kind of bands. So it's like alternative bands that like there was like some distorted guitars and it sounded a little heavy and it kind of got my interest and my ear, kind of like listening. And then like how I really got into punk rock. I went to this I had these friends. They're brothers. They're named the Sparks, Jeremy and Max Sparks. And they had their dad was a fireman. He's the coolest motherfucker on this world. Anyways, their house, his dad was always gone, and their house was like the party house, like the flop house and shit, And I remember
yeah. When you were how old, by the way?
I was about 12 years old.
Oh, okay.
And I used to I grew up in El Rio, which is unincorporated Oxnard, so there's a lot of gangs and shit like that. And I thought I was like a cholo. I wore my fucking Dickies flannel and shit. I'm like, what up, Dick? Cruising around. And so I went to my friend's pad and he's like, hey man, we're throwing a party. We're gonna have this like punk band that's playing. And I remember the band's name too. They're called Juanita's Kitchen. They're such a weird name, but I remember going to this party and going in the garage and seeing this band just doing the damn thing, slamming the guitars. And that's what I was like, this is what I want to fucking do. I want to play music like these motherfuckers. Slam around my guitar.
You can remember that day.
I do remember that day very clearly because that's the day that changed my life.
Wow. No fucking kidding.
And I use punk rock as like a form of ventilation too. So like it helps me with like problems. If there's a song I can identify with, and I'm going through some shit that day, I'll just turn on that fucking song and it lets me escape. Especially playing it.
Yeah. So let's see. The way you dress, does it ever turn people off? Like, obviously I think it's cool. Like I relate and I like it. But, do you go anywhere where you're judged by people and they're afraid of you at all?
Yeah, it seemed like when I was younger, I was judged a lot more. Like I would get called a faggot or just a pussy or some shit. I don't know. But
just like a different generation, maybe.
Yeah, but now it's people think it's cool. Like I'll go to the store, my hair up, like man, that's some cool fucking hair you got there. Or they give me compliments, like or I like your style or shit like that. And that's cool. You're not being if you're not being an asshole to me about it, I think that's pretty fucking rad. And I'll answer your question, like what kind of hairspray you use or whatever. I'll tell them.
Well, yeah. What kind of hairspray do you use? Now that I think about it,
I used to use Rave 4X Pump. That was a fucking shit back in the day, and that shit was like glue. But now I use Suave 8. It's easy to brush out. It's adhesive. It'll hold shit up for a few days if I want to. And it smells nice.
What's your opinion of when I used to spike my hair? I think I used something called Got to Be.
Oh yeah, that was a yellow can. Yeah, with a little foghorn tip. Yeah,
dude, that stuff was like what do they call it? Like rubber glue or that thing that was like glue, like so thick.
The thing though, that one and Freeze It was another one that was super adhesive, but that shit was like expensive as fuck. Like I was poor, man. I was buying like $2 bottles of Rave 4.
Dude, I was this is I've said it to a close friend, so I'm sort of outing myself here. I used to spike my hair in high school and middle school, and with Got to Be, and I used to have Liberty spikes and a mohawk at some point. I was so punk that my grandmother was the one who spiked my hair in the morning.
That's awesome, dude.
And I was embarrassed about that for so long, but I actually now I just look back and it's hilarious. She like gave me the perfect Liberty spikes.
That's so fucking cool to hear that, because I remember growing up, like my immediate family, like thought it was like a phase or like they're kind of embarrassed to like be in public with me. But the only one person that was all about it, that supported me 100%, was my grandma, dude. She was so cool. She always say like, "Oh, mijo, you look so silly. I like it. I love you." She nicknamed my wife Raspada, which means snow cone in Spanish.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like an honorable thing, to hear that from your grandma.
Yeah, my grandma was a huge support system to me when I was younger. Nobody else like gave me shit for it, but my grandma like literally was one spiking my hair. So it's cool that you say that your grandma, made you feel good about it. Or I get that's the impression I get.
Totally. And but now my family, I love my family to death. They're like my number one, But now they look at me as like cool, like I'm the coolest thing since sliced bread, because they know what I've been doing as far as being a punk rocker. It was all positive. I was making music, making records, traveling, trying to like do something positive in my life, and it took them a long time to realize that, but now they're just fucking gung ho about it,
Do you have nephews and nieces?
I do, from my dad's side. I have three half siblings.
Mm-hmm.
They live in Georgia. I really see them ever. Yeah, but my sister, she's my older sister. She's my half sister. We have two different dads, same mom. But I consider her as like my real sister, man. I grew up with her my entire life, And
yeah, that's how it is with me too. I have a sister who's from the same dad, and then the rest are from another guy, another man. Right. So no, I totally get that. So it's funny when people say like, "Oh, like your half sister," and I think like what do you mean? That's my sister. You know?
Yeah, totally, absolutely.
That's my fucking sister. So
She's cool.
the way you dress, and I talk like I'm an old man, because I relate to it. It's like I want to set up a jacket. So I feel like I am punk at heart. So I don't want you to think that I see you as like some other, because I think I am in the same boat as you in some ways. So these questions sound funny, I know, but
it's all good.
So, like, what do you think the statement is for people that like look like you, with like a studded jacket and the mohawk? Like, what's the statement?
Well, to me, like you said, like some people think punkers get in fights all the time. I mean, punk rock should be feared. It should be like an angry form of music. And like, I think looking like a tough, angry, scary motherfucker might get the point across,
Yeah. Do you see it anyway as a counter strike to the status quo, sort of a rebellion on what we take for granted? Is that involved at all?
I look at the image as turning fashion upside down, but unfortunately, it's kind of a fashionable thing to do. But like I said, I do it for my personal reasons. I like it. I like colors. I like fucking metal. I like tight, fucking squeezy, fucking ass jeans and shit. But I mean, with the status quo, I don't think it has to do anything with that, man. It's just how you feel and the way you want to look,
Yeah, it's interesting. I draw a parallel to it. You said something about it earlier. You said that it just makes you feel good. It makes you feel interesting, and you just feel good being who you are. With these with the clothes you wear and how you dress and stuff. And I try to keep that in mind when if I walk down the street, I walk in the mall or something, and I see some, average person, wearing totally bland, regular clothes. They look like every other guy in the building.
Yeah.
Or whatever, I try to keep in mind that, the way people dress, that's who they are. It's like it makes them feel good. It makes them, it's a reminder to me to not judge so hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm not going to like judge you for wearing a fucking pair of Nike shoes or like a polo shirt. I look at people like what's in their heart more than what's on the outside.
Yeah. So I would guess then that you think, a punk style and like, that the way you dress and like the sort of stuff you like, does that also not necessarily identify you with any like politics?
I try not to think about politics really. Like it drives people fucking crazy. But
do you see like the government legitimate, or do you think they're, like foolish, like, or you don't agree with what they do? What do you like personally? What do you think?
Well, I don't agree with most of the shit they do, but what am I going to do?
Yeah, we're just average cats.
Like most of the lyrics that we sing about today are just about fun things, hanging out with my friends, partying, drinking, going places. Like you'd rarely hear a political song come out of my mouth ever.
Like, what are some of the titles for some of your records for Fist Fight?
Let's see. There's S and the D.
All right.
Which is short for sucking the dick. There's mushrooms for breakfast. There's what else is there? There's a song called Riot, which is kind of funny. Which is about going out and just being destructive, We have weird song titles like PBS, Procrastinated Banana Shoes, and it has nothing to do with the song whatsoever.
Dude,
we have a song called
fun.
One of my favorite songs to play is called $20 is $20. It's about like it's about like a male prostitute, trying to make his living. See, that's the kind of shit that like
pure fun.
I'm trying pure fun, just pure fun. And like I said, politics, it drives people crazy. And like they get angry, I hate when people like want to shake you. I'm like, you're fucking wake up, you're not woke or whatever. Like, get off me, man. You're fucking psycho.
By the way, do you go as like, Josh Priority now? I'm not sure of your name, actually. I know you're Josh, but I'm not sure of what your name is.
Definitely not Priority.
Was that ever your name?
No, it was back in the day, it was Josh Cunt. That was my nickname.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But no, it's just Josh Stamps, dude. Just call me whatever you want. Call me fucking retard. I'll respond to it.
Josh, it was a pleasure. It's sort of in some sick sophomoric way, sort of a dream come true to talk to somebody who I looked up to as a kid. Even the couple shows that I saw, I thought you guys were like really fucking cool, and I think back to those days with pleasure. So I thank you for that.
Man, I thank you. Appreciate it. Really, really appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
I'll ask you one more question. You can answer it any way you like. Josh, sure. Who are you?
A human being.